Audience. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm sure everyone will agree with me when I say that life is pretty good. We're able to eat great food, be around great company, and just basically pretty much do whatever it is we like to do. And we all have great health. And if we don't, we're able to go to any doctor of our choice and receive good quality assistance. But what if you were an inmate in prison? Would your quality of life be the same as it is now? No, it wouldn't. And so I want to talk to you about three things, although there's many, but I just want to touch base on three things that affect the quality of life of inmates, and that is their living condition, the food that they eat, and then the medical assistance. Now, poor living conditions such as overcrowding is detrimental to inmates. Overcrowding is when you fill a space beyond its usual or its comfort. For instance, if we took this living room space and we added about 10 more people to the 6 that's in here, and we're expected to live in this space. This would be the space where we eat. This would be the space where we sleep, we shower, and where we just spend our free time. Now, overcrowding is seen as a serious problem in prisons because it leads to increased violence, it leads to lack of basic sanitation, and it also leads to inadequate food and medical support. Which leads me to my second thing, which is the food provision in prison. Now, by law, the prisons are required to provide inmates with enough food and with nutritional food. But for the most part, they don't do that. I read an article by a guy named Michael McCurgan, and he said that most prisons have a food deficiency, such as serving contaminated food, food that's out of date, or they just simply don't have enough food for the inmates. And it also talked about a case study where a prison used a soy-based product instead of using ground beef, and so the overfeeding of that soy-based product to inmates caused inmates to get ill. Some developed skin diseases, some developed digestive problems, and get this, some men developed breasts. So food provision in prison is a very serious thing. Now, I work at the Telford unit, which is the prison in New Boston, Texas, and I worked there for 4 years, and I brought along with me an example of a lunch meal that we provided to inmates. And this lunch meal is called a Johnny Sack. And a Johnny Sack is given when when the unit is on lockdown, and the employees, like myself and the officers, would have to serve the inmates their meals, and we would have to prepare them. And so just imagine for a minute if you were an inmate and it's lunchtime and you're hungry, and we came around to you with your Johnny meal. And this is what your meal would consist of. It would be in this. And as a requirement, all we're required to provide you is a hard-boiled egg, some prunes, and then a peanut butter sandwich. Now, I don't know about for you, but for me, that's not adequate enough food. The last thing I want to talk to you about is the medical support in prison systems. Like I said, I worked at the Telford unit for 4 years, and I saw where an inmate was standing outside his cell, and he unexpectedly was attacked by another inmate. And this inmate stabbed him, or he was stabbing him. And so the other inmates that were in their cell, they were banging on their doors and trying to get, everybody's attention, trying to get the officer's attention, and so we can get medical support to him. And so once we got in contact with medical, it took medical 15 minutes to come to that guy's rescue. Now, you may think that that's not a long time, but the medical unit is actually there on the unit itself. So it's not like we had to wait for someone to come from Watley or St. Michael's. The medical unit, which is the infirmary, is already there on the unit. And so it took them 15 minutes to get that guy some help. And sad to say, he died. And so this is just an example to show you how the medical support at these units aren't the same as it is here on the outside world. Now, as I close, I want you to think about our jail that we have here in Texarkana, which is the Bi-State Jail. Within the past 3 months, Bi-State has had 2 young women to die due to health complications. And at the moment, those 2 cases are being investigated because they're trying to see if medical attention was given in a legitimate amount of time. And to me, those are 2 cases too many. So if you enjoy being able to eat great food, doing pretty much whatever you like, and just being around great company, I think the prison system is not the place for you. Thank you.